We're talking Alex Pereira being the champ. And who the fuck is he going to face next? Back in November, it was Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira gets the freaking knockout and completely shocks the fucking world. He really kind of said that he was going to leave the UFC after he got the belt. And then he said he's going to fight Izzy again. And then he said he's going to fight Robert Whittaker now. Woo! What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Kevin Hoops Show. I am the host here, Kevin Hoops. If you guys are new here and didn't know that little fact, hit the freaking subscribe button so I can stop repeating myself. Without further ado, though, we're getting right into things on this one. Oh yeah, baby. We're going middleweight division today. We're talking Alex Pereira being the champ. And who the fuck is he going to face next? Now, going back in time a little bit, back in November, it was Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira. And honestly, I had Israel Adesanya winning going into that fifth round. And boom, bang, boom, Alex Pereira gets the freaking knockout and completely shocks the fucking world. Now, it's not like Alex Pereira came into the UFC, knocked Israel Adesanya out, and, you know, he was like an up-and-comer. The dude has already freaking solidified himself as a legend in kickboxing. Recently, Alex Pereira, kind of really since he's won the belt, has been going on about this, on about that, on about this, and he's been all over the fucking place. He really kind of said that he was going to leave the UFC after he got the belt. And then he said he's going to fight Khamzat Chimaev. And then he said he's going to fight Izzy again. And then he said he's going to fight Robert Whittaker now. So I'm just over here trying to figure out where the fuck this guy is and who he's actually going to face. I honestly think there's a lot of different options he has, especially with Jamal Hill over here freaking winning the light heavyweight belt and then going over to Glover Teixeira's corner and looking at Alex Pereira a little oddly or giving him a little stinky eye or something like that. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I do think that this whole Robert Whittaker situation is a lot more interesting than people had originally thought, or maybe weren't even thinking about this, and kind of just everyone was at that mindset of, all right, he's just going to face Izzy again for a rematch. But honestly, I don't think he's really there. I think, if anything, he wants to avoid that Izzy fight. He's gotten lucky 2 times now, and I think his luck is running out, if you know what I'm saying. The reason I say that his luck is coming out is because if you go back and watch the fights, the first kickboxing match they had against each other, Israel Adesanya seemed like he won, but it went to a tie. The second fight then happened, and Israel Adesanya was winning the fight, and then Alex Pereira gets the knockout at the end of the round. Basically the same thing that just happened in the third fight, except that this time it was MMA rules in the UFC, obviously, and Israel Adesanya again was winning rounds 1 through 4. To back up my point just a little bit more of why I think Israel Adesanya really won those rounds 1 through 4 in that final match is because he outstruck Alex Pereira in rounds 1, in round 2, in round 3, and in round 4. Not only that, but he also got an equal amount of takedowns as Alex Pereira, which I was kind of surprised about. Alex Pereira hasn't gotten a single fucking takedown in the UFC. He's had about 5 to 6 matches now in the UFC, and he hasn't gotten or gone for a single takedown. There was not even any attempts on his UFC record for takedowns until he went up to fight against Israel Adesanya. The last thing I want to mention about the whole entire 3 matchups that these guys have had before is kind of Israel Adesanya's confidence going in and fighting against Alex Pereira specifically. He's been winning the rounds before the actual round he gets knocked out in. It seems like he's winning the fight all the way up until that last round or until he gets knocked out in one of the final rounds. I just want to know myself, you know, if I were to be talking to Israel Adesanya, like, hey, I know you probably think that you won these rounds, but why do you think you let that happen in the end of the fight? You know, was it just, you know, you slipping or you didn't see it? And how does that affect him going into another matchup against Alex Pereira, which most likely is going to happen? Let's be real here. The rematch is eventually going to happen. Now, this will be the actual last thing that I talk about their matchups, and it's just one thing that I want to throw in there kind of at the end is I said that Alex Pereira had a takedown against Israel Adesanya, but I do not remember that takedown happening. I don't know if it was part of the end where he got the knockdown and then he maybe went for a takedown. I don't remember exactly how the fight ended. but I just don't remember that takedown personally. Let me know in the comments if you guys do. Now, talking about the future of Alex Pereira now, really kind of getting into the deep waters of things. If we really look at Alex Pereira, even in this last Israel Adesanya fight, the dude just looked enormous. Not only against Israel Adesanya, but even with Jamal Hill coming up to him and, congratulating or saying thank you and, giving respect to Glover Teixeira's corner, Alex Pereira looked just as big as Jamal Hill, if not fucking bigger. And Jamal Hill fights in light heavyweight. Not to mention, when he was talking about fighting Khamzat Chimaev, it would most likely be at middleweight, and Khamzat Chimaev would be moving up from welterweight to middleweight. So I don't know if I'm just, looking at these guys wrong or something, but in my opinion, Alex Pereira is a little too all over the place right now of saying, I want to fight this guy, I want to fight this guy. Now, whether it's going to help him get more views or help him get more clicks, but at the end of the day, I do think having a training camp focused around one fighter in particular is going to help you against that one fighter that you go off and face after that training camp. Not to mention, it's already been almost 2-3 months since he's last fought, and that timer is fucking ticking, baby. Jamal Hill now is an absolutely dangerous fighter, and I'm not going to even go into too much of predictions if that fight were to actually happen, just because I think it is a little bit further out of one of those crazy ideas. If Alex Pereira were to go up, that means that he's going to be not defending the middleweight belt, and then no one's going to be really fighting in that division, at least at the top part of the division, and it's kind of just going to hold the lineup. So that's really why I don't think that fight's going to happen. But if it were to happen, Alex Pereira going for double champ within 5 to 6 fights being in the UFC. Talk about legend fucking status, ladies and gentlemen. To be honest, though, I really don't think anyone's made that much of a rise like Alex Pereira has, so I gotta give him some respect and pat him on the back. Gotta tip it a little bit. There's not that much more I can add to the Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira sort of storyline, but one thing I can add on to and kind of start is the Robert Whittaker versus Alex Pereira. I do think that this is a matchup that could very easily happen if Israel Adesanya is out on surgery, or I really don't understand why he wouldn't take the fight other than surgery, to be honest. I don't think Israel Adesanya is one to turn down a fight, but I do think after he's lost the belt, it is that kind of reset time, and make sure that when you do come back, you're going to be 100%. If anything, now is the perfect time to get surgery the same way Kamaru Usman is, since he's lost the belt to Leon Edwards. Shout out to that rematch coming in March. If you haven't watched my video on that, go and fucking watch it. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about Alex Pereira and this whole Israel Adesanya, Robert Whittaker thing is the matchup between the two is actually pretty interesting. I think it's a great matchup between a grappling heavy type of fighter and a kickboxing heavy type of fighter, and those styles kind of will clash, obviously, when they face each other, and you'll see the advantages and disadvantages pretty quickly when you see those two fight. Not saying these two are going to fight, but any grappler or any kickboxer, when they go against each other, you really see the advantages and disadvantages for each fighter. That's not to say that Alex Pereira doesn't have any takedown defense. I do want to mention that he did have 3 or 4 takedown defenses against Israel Adesanya, and what I meant by that, if I kind of said that in a stupid way, is that he defended the takedown that Israel Adesanya threw on him. He defended it 3 out of the 4. So I think that that's pretty impressive, at least for someone who doesn't really have as much grappling experience or grappling knowledge. It definitely goes to show that he's definitely got some skill on the feet defending takedown. That doesn't mean he's going to be an absolute all-star on the ground when he does get taken down, and if he gets taken down, but I do think it's something to give him a little pat on back for. If I were to put my money on it, though, I'm probably going to have to say the rematch with Israel Adesanya is probably going to happen first, just because I think the UFC's already basically booked up until March. So that means that fight happens April, May, maybe sometime in June, July, maybe towards the end of the year, but I really don't think they want to hold that belt on the sidelines for that long. I think they want to put that belt back into the pay-per-view eyes as soon as possible, especially it being an Israel Adesanya rematch. It's definitely gonna fucking get them fucking views, baby. So why the fuck not run it back as soon as possible? Not to also mention, the longer it goes, the less time Alex Pereira has to fight in general. The dude is 35 now. He's definitely had some accomplishments over in the kickboxing side of things. But if he wants to get those same accomplishments or as the same tier of accomplishments in the UFC, I think he's got to be pretty fucking active. Not saying he hasn't been active. He's definitely been pretty active since he's been to the UFC. But I do think that, you know, getting more fights this year is only going to help you leading into your 36, 37, 38 years when you're older, probably getting more slow. I mean, just look at Glover Teixeira. He's 42, 43, and didn't look anything like he did in his last fight. And I think that that is what happens, or can happen more frequently when you get into that older age. It just goes to show you don't see many guys in general like Glover Teixeira holding a fucking UFC title belt at the age of 40 fucking 2. If anything, at the age of 40 plus in general. So let's fucking get going, Alex Pereira. I'm definitely gonna have to say, though, the Robert Whittaker fight definitely intrigues me, but I'm probably going to have to put my money on it happening with Israel Adesanya first. Not to also mention, Israel Adesanya has beat Robert Whittaker twice. How the fuck can you guys forget that shit? It's happened 2 times now. Israel Adesanya just seems like the better fighter. So if Alex Pereira beats Israel Adesanya, obviously, in my opinion, Alex Pereira is going to beat Robert Whittaker. Now, things in the UFC aren't as simple as that. That's why we have good and entertaining fights. That's why there are upsets. But if you're putting things on paper, I really have to put my money on Israel Adesanya fighting Alex Pereira again. I don't know how many times I'm going to repeat this video, but that's going to be the last one. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like. If you guys enjoyed or have any comments on this video, whether you think it's Robert Whittaker, Israel Adesanya, Khamzat Chimaev, freaking who knows where Alex Pereira is actually going to go with his next fight, but comment down below what you guys think is going to happen. I will respond. I promise you that. I respond to all of your beautiful faces comments. With that, do not forget, next week we are going to be having a watch party for the UFC fight night. And after that, we are going to have another watch party for UFC 284. Tune in. Stay square. Have a good day, ladies and gentlemen. Woo!